Hello all, welcome to i-tutor Academy. In today's session, we will start with the block 2 of Mmpc 007, that is oral communication at work. In last video, we covered till block 1, that is unit 4, and this is unit 5. We will start here under oral communication at work. In block 2, there is 4 chapters. Unit 5 now we will discuss, that is listening and reading skill, and unit 6 is interpersonal communication. Unit 7 is communication in meeting, and unit 8 is presentation skills. So these are under block 2 chapter. So let's start with the unit 5, that is listening and reading skill. What are the objectives of this chapter? Objectives of this chapter is explain the meaning of listening, describe different type of listening, discuss the concept of effective listening, explain the process of listening, understand the barriers of listening, explain the process of reading, and understand the critical reading skill. Structure of this unit are: there is an introduction part, meaning and importance of listening, type of listening, effective listening, characteristics of good listener, process of listening, barriers to listening, way to overcome barrier, and critical reading skills, expanding vocabulary, summary, keyword sections are there, self assessment questions also there in this chapter. So let's begin with the introduction part. Listening and reading are two important components of any kind of communication. We often come across certain instances where people do not perform their duties well, as they are not able to comprehend the instruction given to them. This shows that they have not listened to the instruction attentively. Therefore, it is important to understand the concept of listening and how one can develop effective listening habits. Effective listening is very important for the success of individuals and organizations both. In this unit, we will discuss different aspects of listening and understand the characteristics of a good listener. Reading is another component of communication. In business organization, reading is an important aspect that involves reading the annual report, manuals, policies, etc. on a daily basis. So reading skill are important at the workplace in terms of speed and selection. So in this unit, along with the listening, we will discuss different aspect of reading too. And meaning and importance of listening. What is the importance of listening? Listening is a form of oral communication. It involves four distinct components which form the whole concept of listening. They are hear, comprehend, retain, and recall. This is a process of listening. Listening is a two-way process which involves the exchange of views, ideas, and emotions of the two parties involved. There is a difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is a part of listening as mentioned above, but is considered to be physical activity. So when we talk about the component of listening, we have to include comprehension part also. So since the listening is mental activity, comprehension plays an important role. The other two components, recall and retain, if aligned with the comprehension part, makes listening effective. And listening skills are important for business communication as it helps organizations in becoming more productive. Since listening is a natural process, it can only be inspired by increasing concentration and being conscious. And listening can be verbal and non-verbal. The verbal involves the speaking aspect, and the non-verbal listening involves observations. And listening has certain features. These are as follows. Features of good listening. Listening can benefit in many ways. The most important one are listed below. That is reduce miscommunication. Proper listening lead to comprehending, retaining, and recalling whatever has been said more effectively, thereby reducing miscommunication and errors. Increases confidence. Proper listening increases the confidence of the speaker as well as the receiver and build a strong bond between the two. And increase productivity. If the listening process is appropriate, then a proper communication builds between the superior and the subordinate. This helps in building a good rapport, which in turn will result in employees being motivated. This will then increase productivity of the organization. Save time and cost. If listening between different levels of the organization is proper, then the chances of distortion in the information is quite less, which results in reduction in time loss, thereby reducing the cost. And the types of listening, what are the types of listening? So biased listening, sympathetic listening, empathetic or therapeutic listening, critical listening, international listening, appreciative listening, selective listening, rapport listening. These are the type of listening. And let's discuss one by one. Biased listening, what is biased listening? As the same suggests, this type of listening is based on preconceived notion and expectation. Here the listener wants to hear only what or she or he wants to listen, and this may be subconscious. And this type of listening usually occurs at workplace and happens where the personal relationships are stressed. And sympathetic listening, this type of listening shows the caring attitude of the listener. She or he understand what the person is saying, and this type of listening occurs among us close friends or relatives. And in this type of listening, body language, type signing, nodding, etc., plays an important role. And empathetic or therapeutic listening, this type of listening is similar to sympathetic listening, but in this case, the listener not only listen, but the experiences the feeling of the speaker, herself or himself. At time, this type of listening can affect the listener deeply. This is also known as therapeutic listening. And critical listening, this type of listening is judgmental in nature, and here the listener gives a critical view of what is being said. And this type of listening is good for businesses, as it helps the listener to stick to the point and streamline the things. Using critical listening helps in decision making, analyzing the situation, and finding solution to the problems. And informational listening, as the name suggests, this type of listening involves paying attention to the kind of information being conveyed by the speaker. It is quite similar to critical listening, as in this we retain the important points and discard the non-essential point. This type of listening usually has critical and practical centers. For example, in a meeting about a product launch or new marketing campaign, the listener tends to use the combination of critical and informational listening. Appreciative listening. What is appreciative listening? Listening for pleasure is helpful in certain cases. So we all love having deep conversation. This type of listening can be listening to music which relaxes you, etc. And selective listening, this means that we tended to hear only these things information which we can actually want to hear, and this is only listening which has negative connotation attached with it, and it may result in miscommunication. At time we tended to drift away or get lost while struggling hard to hear only the selective portions. And rapport listening, as the name indicates, this type of listening involves a combination of many other type of listening which have already been discussed. This is usually used when we want to develop a relationship with someone. This type of listening involves showing interest with an inclination to respond appropriately. We have learned some style of listening, but there can be many more, as the listening skill of each individual is different. These types help us in understanding which type of listening we should use in making the communication effective. So next is effective listening. What is effective listening? Effective listening skill are important in personal as well as the professional life, and around 70 to 80% of our working hours are spent in communicating in one form or the other. So there are certain components of effective listening. They are concentration or focus, and body language and avoiding noise. Concentration or focus, this is the first and foremost component when we talk about effective listening. Focus should be there when we listen to someone, and this shows a positive attitude and respect to the speaker. And at time we tended to lose contact with the speaker and drift away in our own world while the speaker keeps on speaking. Body language, and appropriate body language helps to give a positive message to the speaker. This involves active listening. Non-verbal cues make a lot of difference while being intense or a difficult discussion. And language or use of appropriate words is very important for being an effective listener. In certain instances, it is seen that the speaker uses some complex words and sentences, and it become difficult for the listener to understand what the speaker is saying. In this case, the speaker may be communicated to make his or her language simple so that it communicated the exact message. And avoid noise at time during meeting or other important discussions. Our concentration is interrupted by external noise like a beeping of phones, someone peeping in a meeting room, etc. In this case, the phone should be switched off or kept on silent mode and the door closed while an important discussion is on. This helps in making the process of listening more effective. A checklist should be followed for effective listening. These are practice listening, reflect on conversation, focus on conversation. Okay, so these are under checklist should be followed for effective listening. Next is characteristics of a good listener. What are the characteristics of good listener? One is verbal competencies and taking notes, intelligence, motivation, hearing abilities, and environmental distractions. So these are the characteristics of a good listener. Okay, so let's discuss one by one. Personality traits. It is not necessary not a good listener possess a great physique, and however the body language of a listener like making eye contact with the listener does impact listening. And verbal competencies, this is important to become a good listener. A good vocabulary helps in effective listening and aids in retention. Taking notes. While listening, making notes does not affect listening. However, it will help to carefully synthesize the information at a later stage too. And intelligence. A good listener should be intelligent enough to comprehend what the speaker is saying. Motivation. A listener should be interested in the topic, which will then motivate him or her to listen to the speaker. If motivation is not there, then there are chances that listening may not be good. And hearing ability. A good listener possesses a good hearing ability. Hearing does not restrict only sound. It is how much you gather from the conversation. Environmental distractions. Good listeners have the ability to adjust to the distracting element. They do not get deterred from the external distraction. So this is here is difference between good and bad listener. Parameters are here one by one. 10 parameters. Interest area. The good listener seeks opportunity and bad listener shows no interest. So that is a difference between good listener and bad listener. Content versus delivery. Focus on content, and bad listener focuses on delivery. Biasness, it is low, and in bad listener it is high. And flexibility, also good listener is high, and in bad listener there is low flexibility. Listening ability, that is good listener is a high listening ability, and in bad listener there is low listening ability. And like that, the mental status of highly focused in good listener and less focused in bad listener. And speech versus thought. Challenges summarizes mentally, and daydreamer is a bad listener is a daydreamer. So these are the basic differences between good listener and bad listener. A good listener therefore is the one who can overcome all the limitations and can focus on the conversation. Okay, so this is about today's section. And other subsections in unit 5 we will discuss on next video. Till discussion, you just refer all the videos, and in case any doubts, you just contact us anytime. For more MBA videos, you just do like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much.
i-tutor Academy presents Ignou Mba complete syllabus coverage classes for individual students, semester-wise subject with online and flexible timing. For more details, contact on +916 238 21785.